Hi and welcome to Instruments for Change on our virtual church, EJC Virtual Church. My name is Audale Martin, and today I will be with you for this session. I also have with me one of my students, Kaiden Evering. Just for the sake of our viewers, tell us your name again, how old you are, and which church you go to.
I go to Rollington Town Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'm 7 years old and my name is Kaiden Amor Christopher Evering.
Okay, say your name slowly again.
Kaiden Amor Christopher Evering.
Okay, I still hear Kaiden Evering. All right, so for today's class, we'll be looking at major scales and their importance. Major scale and their importance to all the music that we will play for at least these sessions, right? We should have an idea of what the major scale is based on classes that we've been having with Oren Thomas and Elder Brian Bailey, right? Elder Brian Bailey. A major scale. Kaiden will be our assistant for today's class. Kaiden will be our assistant, and he'll be helping me play some of the stuff for today. So I won't be doing a lot of playing, but Kaiden will be playing first. So Kaiden, let's just start quickly with a C major scale, just one octave, Kaiden, from C to C. Just play for me a C major scale. Play it a little slower for me this time. And a little bit slower. So for those who don't know this scale, so let's work together. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And back down. B, A, G, F, E, D, C. So that's our C major scale. Kaiden, play a D major scale for me, Kaiden. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, C sharp, E, A, G, F sharp, E, D. So our major scale, we can start the major scale at anywhere really. So we can start at C, we can start at D, E. So once we understand the concept of the major scale, we should be able to play it on any key, whether it's a black key or a white key. So the major scale is important and applicable to all the notes, right? We should know this. We're just revising what we have been, doing in other sessions before. So Kaiden, play for me, play it one more time, C major scale. But this time we're looking at the fingering for the scale. What fingers do we use on which keys? So let's go again, Kaiden. C, very slow. So we're using finger one, we use it, the thumb is finger one, right? So C, D, finger two. Kaiden says your pointer finger. Go ahead, Kaiden. Finger three on E. Right, the middle finger. The middle finger. Continue. Middle finger. And then go back right here. Just go back right here. Start one more time for me. C. I continue. D. Continue. Slowly. So what's happening right here? We're going under with the thumb to F. F. Continue. Right. G. A. Right. And all the fingers naturally. Fourth finger goes on B. Okay. Someday in the distant future. B. And then C. Alright. We're going back down. We're going back down now, okay then. Kaiden, we're going back down. From C. Pause right there, slowly. The middle finger comes back over to E. D, C. Okay, thank you, Kaiden. So what happens here is, with these fingers, using the right finger, and we're able to play the scale, at least, well, for C. And this finger applies to C major, D major, E major, F major, G, A, B. Yes, applied to all the white keys. So with the right finger, we're able to get a smooth, instead of using one finger or some other fingers. So finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, we go under to F with the thumb. And naturally all the fingers will come right back into position. So also with that fingering, we're supposed to be able to feel a natural flow along the instrument, right? A natural flow along the instrument. So for this first segment, it's really practicing how, to practice the major scale and the fingerings. And as time goes on, we start to apply the different approaches of how we can approach the major scale. Right? So Kai, then do for me 2 octaves of the C major scale slowly. So as we get to that B and we are using our 4th finger, we won't use the pinky this time, but rather we go under again with the thumb and continue with the next octave. So slowly. Beautiful. And what happens, if we notice, when Kylen is playing that scale, we notice that the 4th finger always goes on a B in the 1st octave and in the 2nd octave. Next tricky part is the middle finger on E when we're doing that switch over from the 3rd finger to the thumb 1st finger. So the 4th finger always end on B and the thumb is always back on C. Middle finger at the E, under again. And that's how I'm doing that scale right throughout. So we notice where the 4th finger, because that's the trouble, the 4th finger and the 3rd finger on E when we're going under. Anything else, you will fall short in terms of, let's say I put my 3rd finger on B instead. I find that I may end up funny somewhere and I have to slightly adjust, but then we won't get a smooth, in terms of speed when we start to speed it up. And the next thing is, because we're talking about practice right now, so I'm going to the full depth of the major scale, we want to practice with something called a metronome. I think Oren might have alluded to this at some point in time, but the metronome is a device. You can get it on Play Store, Google, wherever. It does keep a steady pulse, right? What we'd probably call a quarter note pulse. So it keeps a steady pulse, and we play against the pulse, or play along with the pulse rather, to ensure that we're practicing to be steady, in time, because if we're not in time, you won't be able to play with a singer or sound nice by ourselves, right? So we want to play in time, so everything sound nice and in context and not noisy. All right, Kylen, one thing I want you to do, go to a F major scale for me. F major scale. Okay. 1 octave. I'm going back down. One more time. Kylen made a mistake right there. What was that mistake, Kylen? What was your mistake right there? Tell me the mistake you made.
I put my thumb on the...
But what caused that? Because there was a mistake before that. What was the mistake? Let's see. I believe the mistake was you placed your 3rd finger on that right. It should have been your 4th finger. So if we have 4 more keys to go from that B flat going down, we're going to need 4 fingers starting from here. Right? So let's go again. Fourth finger, right. And it's just a really logical, procedure. If you have 4 fingers, then you'd start from finger 4 to complete whatever amount and whichever note, set up 4 notes. If you have 4 notes, then you start from finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4, right? So in the C major scale, why we use our middle finger when we're coming back down is because we have 3 notes, and middle finger, from the middle finger back to the thumb is three fingers. So it's a really straightforward process. And when we're going up, we have 5 notes to finish from F, G, A, B, C. 5 notes. So once we go under with the thumb, every finger just naturally covers the note. Right? And once you get that concept under, you take your time, speed, and smoother. Right? Okay. So that's our major scale. There is a way to find all the major scales in a quick way. A quick way. You can use if you know your semitones and your whole tones, which I believe Elder Bailey went through at some point in time. C to, can you just play C to C sharp for me, Karen? C, just press the note C.
C to C sharp.
Right, C to C sharp. C, and then C sharp. No, that's D. Right, C sharp, right? So that's your semitone. Play C to D for me now. C to D, and that's a tone, right? All right, thank you, Karen. So from C to C sharp is a semitone, and C to D is a tone. So the principle here is 1 tone, 2 tones. So it's 2 tones, a semitone. Do you remember this, Karen? Or you just know your scales? You practice your scales enough, right? So you wouldn't even be thinking about this anymore. So practicing often is good, guys. If you have a keyboard, practice. Whenever you can. 15 minutes a day. Karen would have known this. 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. Based on the amount of information that you have to be practicing, you want to keep practicing until it is really committed to memory and muscle memory, right? So you no longer have to look at what you're doing. Muscle memory is what really do the work. And that way, our creative juices can flow better because we get all the technical things out of the way. So practice is really good for that. Where was I? Right. So a whole tone, semitone, whole tone, semitone. So what's that? 2 whole tones, a semitone, and 3 whole tones and a semitone. If you use that concept anywhere, you get a major scale. 2 whole tones, semitone, 3 whole tones, then a semitone. So C to D is a whole tone, that's 1 whole tone. D to E is a whole tone, that's 2 whole tones. Then we have E to F, which is a semitone. There's no note in between. Show them for me, Kai. Then E to F, press E and F together at the same time. E and F. Right. Just hold it down for me. There's no note in between E and F. There's no black key, so that's a semitone. Thank you. The same for B and C. There's no black keys in between, so those notes are strictly semitones. So C to D, 1 tone, D to E, 2 tone, 2nd tone, E to F, a semitone, so that's your semitone, 2 tones in a semitone, F to G, a whole tone, G to A, a whole tone, A to B, a whole tone, B to C, a semitone. And if I do that let's try that somewhere, B, let's try B. You find that you have black keys here, so B. Can you just slowly go through a B scale for me, Kylan? Slowly. Okay. Very slow. As I'm speaking, you follow with me. B. So B to C sharp is 1 tone. Next one. A next tone. Now a semitone. Right. And then a whole tone. A next whole tone. Next whole tone. Now the semitone at the end. We're finishing. So Pinky. Going back down. No, let's not go back down. Let's start from the beginning one more time. Right? Whole tone there, that's 1 whole tone. 2nd whole tone, now the 1st semitone. Now 1 whole tone, 2nd whole tone, 3rd whole tone, semitone. And you put that anywhere on the keyboard and you have your major scale. It's just a matter of understanding which finger to use to start with and to finish with, or in the middle there. So different keys require different fingerings. But for the most part, any major scale that starts on a white key, which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, we'll use a C major fingering, which is 1, 2, 3, under, and then the 5 fingers finish it out. All right, so that's it for our practice session. Kaiden, let's just quickly go through all those white keys, major scale. Let's start from C, slowly, relatively slow. Right. C. Let's go to D. D. Can take up the speed just a little bit. E. F. Let's skip F because we did F already. Let's go to G. A major. Right. And B. And we already did C. Thank you, Kaiden. All right, so that's our major scale. I hope that's clear. We can always go back in that part of the video and see what Kaiden was doing there and listen for the explanations. Okay, now within the major scale, we will find many stuff. We can make melodies out of the major scale, which is what pretty much all the songs that we know in church or our national anthem or pledge or whatever it is. Every song pretty much, well, I won't say every song is derived from the major scale, but 90% of the songs we probably know is from the major scale, right? Meaning we will use, let me see, joyful, I'm using the C major scale. If you see completely white keys only with no black key, it is a C major scale. That's joyful. I'm using the C major scale. We're using a major scale. See what we're just talking about, major scales. Let me see. Right, that's a major scale, using the major scale. It may have skips, steps, jumps, big gap leaps. It may have big, but it's still off the major scale. All these stuff are derived from the major scale. A lot of stuff that we hear and wow, it sounds technical and wow. What is really a major scale? And once we understand the notes that we're hearing, let's talk for a few minutes about what we hear and then we take a break. Singers may know the major scale as the solfege, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, in the context of C, do is C, or 1, we use the number system. Re is 2, or D in this context. Mi, E, fa, F, and so forth. You can, use the alphabetical order to figure that out. So that's for the singers. Right, what we're hearing. We hear this series of notes and we can identify it to be a major scale. Or some person say, oh, that's do, re, mi, right? That's how we identify it based on the quality of the sounds, based on and we don't think about all of this, but that's what it really is. We hear the semitone at E and F, and we hear B, C wanting to go there. That semitone wanting to go right up to C as a close or a cadence, or it brings closure. And F always wants to go down to E. Sometimes F goes up to G, but it like it wants. So if you have, let me see, F, E, always want to go down. So I'm listening for things like that. There are two notes that are a bit funny in this scale. The fourth, in this case, F, and the seventh, in this case, B. I'm going to take out these two notes and play what that would sound like, what we'd call a pentatonic scale. This class is not necessarily about the pentatonic scale, but it's derived from the major scale as well, omitting the fourth, which is F, and B, which is the seventh. Kaiden, can you play a pentatonic scale for me, please? C major. Slowly. Thank you, Kaiden. One more time. Thank you. So that scale is really all the black keys, if we look at it. Listen to the sound. It sounds the same, but somewhere else. It sounds the same, but somewhere else. That's all the black keys. And that's why this will always sound nice. That's an actual scale. It will always sound nice, and if I play a B over that scale, it's really a F sharp pentatonic scale. It really should be. Here's the one. That sounds like one, right? Like Do, one. In this case, it's F sharp. And this is why this sounds nice. So that will always sound nice because it's an actual scale, which is the pentatonic scale. Some people like call it Chinese scale or something like that, but the name that we know it to be is the pentatonic scale. I don't think anybody could play that scale that fast. Probably some jazz pianists or so, but within this, that's it for C. It's a very fast, hard scale to play if you're going to do this. It's not going to be like that. It's easy, but you can't do this. This will be a C major scale. That would be a C major scale, right? Right, so our pentatonic scale omits this strong sounding note, the fourth and the seventh. Hear them together, a bit clashy. But every other note in the major scale will harmonize nicely. If I change this F to a E, it transitions nicely. Sounds nice. But this here I have a funny sound, F and B, within the major scale, the fourth and the seventh. It's a very strange interval. If I should take them by themselves and assess them, then we would see that's a very strange interval. But not for this class, maybe the other class. We know this interval to also be a tritone, which means three tones away from each other, right? So if you play three perfect tones away from each other, you will get a tritone, right? But the way music is, we can make things sound nice, right? So if I play the F and B and I play a G over it, or I play a G chord, based on how I arrange the notes, they will sound a certain way. All right, so in terms of how I assess the sounds to know the difference, let's start from C. So if we're in key of C, we will know that this is 1. I'm listening firstly from a simple, I'm not exactly doing this, but from a simpler way. I'm looking C to D, and I'm listening to what we call a major second. They're right beside each other within the major scale. Do, re, do, re, do, re, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right beside each other within the scale. Don't play just now. Here's a C to E, which is a major third. Let's just spell out what they are, the intervals. That's the next thing within the major scale, your intervals. Just deal with the intervals quickly. So C to D is a major second. And a major second simply because it's within the major scale. So C to D, a major second. C to E, a major third. But the fourth and the fifth, we name them differently. And I'll explain why. The fourth is called a perfect fourth. The fifth, a perfect fifth. But when we're back to the sixth now, or the sixth, we call it major six, major 7, 1, or octave, or 8, right? But the major 7 has a mosquito sound. It's a semitone, so it will always sound that way. So it's a very distinct sound. So we refer to it as a mosquito type sound. And we can use different songs to figure out the intervals, but this specific one here, it sounds very C to a B, which is a major 7th. It's a clashy sound, it sounds clashy. And here is the 6, major 6. Which song starts with a major 6? Let me see. I need thee every hour. I need. Is a major 6 interval. And an interval is basically the distance between two notes, right? And the distance between C to A is a 6 based on the major scale. Because it's just 1. So C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just go to the board quickly. So if we look here, Maria could get me a marker. C is 1. Let's say C is 1. So C is 1. D would be 2. E would be 3. F would be 4. G would be 5. A would be 6. So it's the distance from C to A. That's an interval. The C to A interval is a 6, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes to play before we get to A. Thank you. All right? Just number this here. Right? So, talking about intervals, because that's what we're trying to understand. So, we understand the sound of the major scale, the individual relative pitches. Because I say relative because it's all relative to the sound of C. Can you play a C for me, Kaiden? Thank you. So, I know where C is because I don't know C from memory, from my head, which is perfect pitch. I don't have perfect pitch, which is to know pitches without any context. You just hear sounds and know this is a F. You can hear an elephant and know, oh, the elephant is making his elephant sound in G sharp or whatever it is. So play C for me again. C. Thank you. So that's C, right? So C, D. So I'm singing the major scale and I'm thinking about the notes C, D, E. So C, D, the second, third, the fourth. Play F for me, please. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Then we have G, A, B, C. So what I practice to do is to pick out the notes. Just pick out the notes. So C, and I'll try, based on what I know about the major scale, I say C, D, E, F, G. What if I want to reach the G, from C to G? C, D, E, F, G. So I go C, G. Play C and then G for me. Karen, C and then G. C and then, thank you. Let me see. C, G. What about B? B, play B, B. B, B, B. Thank you. What I'm going to ask Kaiden to do, just for an exercise to show, is to play random white notes, which is within the C major context. So we can try to pick out notes. So play C for me one more time. Thank you. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is play random notes, and I pick them out as an exercise to show the viewers. So go ahead, Kaiden. Pick random white notes. Anyone, you choose. So that's a C. Any other white note? Continue. That would be a G. And I'm listening for, before we move on, I'm listening for like a ship sound. Ta-ta-da, or Superman. Ta-ta-da, da-da-da-da. After a while, the interval just becomes clear. Alright, so continue now. Let's play random notes for me. No, man, just play right. D. Right, that's a D. F. E. G. G. A. You can play it anywhere. You can put your finger anywhere over the keyboard. D. Not so far, so I'm going to answer you, sir. A. What's that? E. Continue. B. Continue. Okay, thank you. C, E, D, F, E, G, F, A. Right, so I'm listening to the intervals which are thirds apart. C, E, D, F, E, G, F, A. Which are thirds apart. So I'm listening for distances between notes. And I'm listening to the notes in context of, play C for me. Play it again, hold it down. Hold it down right there. So I'll sing F, F. Play a F for me. Back to C. And here is B. B, B. Here is G. G. No, sorry, F, F. 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 E. B. That's the B below. The B below. C. Thank you. Right? So when we're playing these stuff, we want to can hear them as well. Right? We want to can hear what we're playing and be able to hear them quickly. Brandon, just tell me my timing. And hear them quickly. That way, when we're listening to songs or listening to hymns, we're able to pick out the notes. Let's say, that's my maker and my king. So I don't per se sit down and try to learn all the songs, by working, see what that. No, we're learning or understanding what we're hearing in terms of, in context of the major scale, right? You can always comment in the chat if you want a structured, step-by-step, what we call oral training, so we're better able to hear the notes, right? At this time, we'll take a short break, and then we're going to look at chords within the major scale. Thank you.
The next person in line, your friend at school or your co-worker, may have COVID-19 and not know because they have no symptoms. You, on the other hand, could be hospitalized for 2 months or more if you become infected. Is it worth it? Stay socially connected, but keep the physical distance. Stay 6 feet away and avoid a hospital stay. COVID-19 is not over. Protect yourself while protecting others. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. How to wash your hands. Firstly, wet your hands. Then apply some soap. Rub your hands palm to palm. Lather the backs of your hands. Scrub between your fingers. Rub the backs of fingers on the opposing palms. Then clean your thumbs. Make sure to wash your fingernails and fingertips. Rinse your hands. Then dry with a single-use towel. Use this towel to turn off the faucet. And now your hands are clean. When to wash your hands? After coughing or sneezing, after taking public transportation, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare and eat food, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, after handling animals or animal waste. An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thank you for joining us on Instruments for Change. Today we're looking at our major scales and its importance in all the songs that we play in church or anywhere at all for that matter. All right, so we went through the major scale and we looked at how we can hear the different notes. We have our 1, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then our octave. We looked at the intervals, those intervals. We looked at our major scale. Kaden played through a few major scales for us. And at this time, we're going to go into chords and something we call inversions. All right, let's look at what a chord is. What is a chord? A chord is 3 or more notes played at the same time in harmony. So a chord is 3 or more notes, and I'm going to go on the board, play some examples. Kaden will help me along with that. So a chord is 3 or more notes played at the same time. Chords can sound really big or really small. We know a chord to sound like this, right? Same chord can add more, right? So how many notes am I playing now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is just a C chord down here and a chord down here. Let's see, a bigger chord. I'm playing 8 different notes, or 6 or so different notes. So chords of different structure. Here's the same chord in a different shape or sound, right? Here's this chord in a different sound. Here's this chord sounding different, right? So chords can have different sounds based on how you invert them, right? And inversion just simply means rearranging a set of notes, right? So just to go to the board quickly, a C chord, how we create chords, let me see. We have our major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and what we're going to simply do is start with any note, C for this case, C, and we're going to skip, to get a C major chord that is, we're going to skip D and we're going to play E. We're going to skip F and we're going to play G. And that's simply a C major chord. C, E, G. Right? Can you play a C chord for me, please, Kaiden? That's us. Play it one more time. And if you look at the fingers he's using, again, you have to use the right fingers. Finger 1, finger 3, finger 5. So finger 1 on C. Just C, press C for me. Yes, right? Finger 1 on C. Finger 3 on E. And finger 5 on G. Right. And so back on the board, if you look at the structure, it is playing one note within the scale and skipping the note within that same scale, the next note, which will be D in this case, playing E, skipping that F and going to G, right? And that's building a chord starting on C, so that's a C chord, right? That's a C. Let's not say C major, because then we have to go talk about minor. I don't think I'm going to talk about minor now, right? So let's call it C chord. It's all in the context of a C major scale, right? And that's how we build chords, all in context of a major scale. Quickly, Kaiden, can you play a D major chord? A D major chord has a black key in it. Play a D major scale for me, Kaiden. Major scale, D major scale, D major scale. D major, not D minor, D major. Right. Play it slowly for me again, slowly. D, E, F sharp. Right, so you notice the scale has a F sharp in it and has a C sharp in it. So play a D major scale for me, Kaiden. D major chord, sorry. So you notice he's playing that F sharp because an F sharp is in the D major scale, right? So the chords are created in context of whichever major scale we're in. But we're in C for this case right now. So back to the C major chord. Right. So C, E, G, C major chord. Let's build a chord starting on D. If we start on D, what we do, we just skip the note right beside it in the scale. So we're not going to play this one. We're going to play F. Let's skip that one. We're going to play A. Play a chord starting on D within the C major scale. Right, play that chord right there. Not D major chord. Right. Right. Is that a D or a E?
It has
Hold on, I'm asking you. You're playing E. I want you at D. Play D for me. Play at D. D. Right, play D for me. Not D major, D minor. Here. Right, D. We're playing that chord because it's all in context of C major. So play D by itself for me, Kaiden. D by itself. D. Right. And we're going to skip E and play F. F. Play F, Kaiden. F. Right. So hold that D still. Hold the D still. Hold the D. Play A. Right. So that's basically what we're doing on the board. We're playing one note, skip one, play one, skip one. So Kaiden, play all the chords moving in C for me. C? Yes, moving in the C major scale. Back down. Right. So right there, if we have done that exercise right there, we learned what? 7 chords right there. It's just a matter of how to use them. We're going to get to the inversions in a short time. So C major, that's our C major scale, and from the scale we create chords. So C major, D minor, or just C chord, D chord, E chord, F chord, G chord, A chord, B chord, C chord, B chord, A chord, G chord, F chord, E chord. So it's using 1, 3, 5 and just moving within a C major context. Now with those chords, we can do a lot of stuff. We can invert the chords, and as I said before, the word inversion, or to invert, means to simply rearrange the notes. So if I'm playing a C chord, which is C, E, G, all I'm doing is rearranging the letters. So from C, E, G, C, E, G, I'm going to take C and put it at the top. Now I have E, G, C. Can you play E, G, C for me, please? E, right? E, G, C. Use your second finger on G. Should be comfortable now. That's the right finger in E, G for that inversion. Play it again for me, please. Second finger on right. Can you invert that chord again for me? Now move to the next inversion. What would be the next inversion? So we are at EJC, Kaiden. Play EJC for me again. EJC. And all we're going to do is take this note and put it at the top. So now we have G, C, E. Right. So there are 3 ways to play a C major chord. C. 3 ways. And why it's 3 ways? Because we have 3 notes. So if you have 3 notes, you can play the chord 3 different ways in a close, what we call close position. Close, because all the notes are relatively close. A wide position would be something like, we have the C here, then we have E here, and then G somewhere here. So that's a wide position. So just play for me again, Kaiden, C major chord into root position. So root position means that the name of the chord, which is C, is the lowest note in context of how you're playing it. So play that C chord for me again. That's your root position. Hold down the chord. Hold the chord for me, it's just the same. Hold it down. That's root position, C, E, G. And the next one is called first inversion. Invert the chord for me now, Kaiden. Nice. And in first inversion, we'll have the third or the middle note in that chord, which is E in this case. We have the third as the lowest note of the chord. So E is now the lowest note, then G, and then C is no longer below but at the top, right? And then the next inversion, Kaiden, would be from EJC we're going to G, right? Right. Where now we hold it down, right? Just keep it right there. Don't cover it. We want the viewers to see it. We have G, C, E, where the 5th is the lowest note, right? G, C, E. So root position, first inversion, where the middle note is now the lowest note, and then second inversion where what was the highest note at root position, which is G, is now the lowest note, right? And we can practice our inversions, right? We practice them slowly. So the fingering that we use in the root position, the proper fingering that is, there are many ways really to play it, but use finger 1, finger 3, finger 5, root position, and then when we invert to first inversion, which is now EJC, we use our thumb, second finger, fifth finger. Right? That's first inversion, and then in second inversion, finger 1, finger 3, finger 5. Right? And we use that right throughout. So just like you practice your major scale, you practice your inversions as smooth as possible. This is a solid chord. Solid chord simply meaning all the notes are played at the same time. Or you can play it broken, a broken chord where the notes are played like melody, separate. Right? What I'm doing is using the same fingering of the solid chords, breaking them, using the same fingering and breaking the chord. Sorry. And it's a good practice. It's a good practice. So, and again, as I said, a good practice. So we start slowly with a metronome. Tap, 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 tap. That's triplets. Let's go. Tap. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and when I was doing tap tap, that was my metronome just now. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So we practice it in time with a metronome and then slowly speed it up. I'm doing easy right now. It's not so easy for everybody because I've been practicing this thing for a while now. Right? And that's basically inversions. Now, why do we need to learn inversions? Because based on where a melody may be placed within the song, if the singer is singing at a certain place, based on the inversion, the sound quality of what we're playing can sound better. Right? So if I'm playing, let's see, joyful, joyful, and I reach to this note right here. I want to play the C chord, which is a C, this note here. I want to play the C chord in such a way that this melody remains at the top. But knowing our inversions, after enough practicing, we would know which inversion will give us a C at the top, which is the first inversion where it's E is the lowest note, G is the middle note, and then C. So we have C at the top, and that's why we need to know inversion. So if I'm playing the song starts on E, so I already know that I have to use second inversion to start that song, right? Because second inversion would have the E at the top. Well, this is a different chord, but basically I'm using the inversions of chords right? So inversions is what I'm using to give a full chord texture as I'm playing. Okay, then, what we're going to do right now, we're going to use a progression. A progression is basically harmonies that move within the time, right? So, within a song, the keyboard, or the band or the instrumentalist will play chords in time, and that's what we're calling a progression. At what point do you play your C chord? At what point do you play your F chord? At what point do you play your G chord? Right? That's the progression. right? So if musicians like to speak to each other, what the progression of the song? Progression of the song, 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5, right? And that simply means, what's 1 in C, Kaiden? What note is 1 in C? C would be 1. What would be 4? F would be 4. And what would be 5? G would be 5. So that's the progression that we're working for today. So play a C chord for me, Kaiden. C chord, right? Play a F chord, which is a 4. And play a 5 chord, which is, right, G. And we know how to build the chords. And we call these, it have a shape of thirds, intervals of thirds. 1, skip 1, that's a third, skip 1. So that's we call that stacked thirds. In root position, the notes are stacked in thirds, right? We can stack notes in thirds forever and ever and ever. Right? So it's stacked thirds, and that's root position. In the other inversions, you'd have like a third and then a fourth somewhere, the interval space between the notes, right? So play for me again, root position, stacked thirds, C, F, G. All right, back to C. Now, can we find a next way to play this card then? Meaning that we are going to invert these chords so we don't have this big jump. We'll still be playing C, we'll still be playing F, we'll still be playing G, but we don't want these big jumps because it's really not the best sound we can get. So we're going to use inversions to play without doing much movement. Yeah, but look at a musician playing, and it sounds like they're playing a lot of stuff, but the finger's not going anywhere. You're using inversions, right? It's like I'm hearing all of this stuff, but you're not going anywhere. Your fingers just like stay in one place, right? We're using inversions, and I like to use inversions. It's really easy, and it sounds better that way. So, Kaiden, play for me a C chord in root position. What's the closest way to play the F chord? Right. Now let's just kind of analyze this to see what's happening here. What we're doing, we play 1 to 4. That's the progression we start with. So 1, 4, 5. C to F, right? And if you have already figured out that within F there is a F note, a A note, and a C note, right? There's a common note between F and C, right? Between the F chord and the C chord, which is that C note. So in F chord, you'll find a C note, and in the C chord, you'll find a C note as well. So it's C, E, G, F, A, C. So play that C chord for me again. C chord, and play that F chord you played just now. So what happened is, Kaiden kept the C bass, rather the C note, and then just move. What did you move? What are the top notes you moved? You moved from where to where? You moved E and G up to?
I moved E. I moved F.
Right.
And then
And what chord is that?
F chord.
That's a F chord. That's a F chord. So play the C again. Play C. Right. And then to that F, play C again. Now play F the normal way. The normal way. Right. Go back again. Go back again. Play the inverted way now. Alright, thank you so much, Kaiden. So if we listen well, we hear one note that remained constant. That C stayed right there. All we did was just move the top notes. You can see my fingers moving on the screen right there. C stays, and the F and A. C and G move. Sorry, E and G moved to F and A. Still a F chord, as opposed to jumping up here. Right? It's much easier to just move these fingers. And you hear a smooth transition. Right? As opposed to, I mean, it's still nice, but you can hear a distinct change. Sometimes we don't want smooth transition, right? And sometimes based on dynamics, and we know that's how loud or soft the music is, or the note is, or whatever it is. So, let's say we play, and then the C still ring, right? But you can't really have, that C remain the same. And so based on inversions, dynamics kind of have a greater effect too. But if you just play, and then there's a big gap, and then you want to play soft. But if you opposed to. So inversions help to bring out dynamics. When you practice this, you'll realize that. All right, so we have our F inversion. Now we want the 5. What's the 5? What chord would be 5 here? What chord would be 5? No, give me the original position. The original position. Right, so that's G. G in root position. Now let's play back the 1 and the 4. Play back the 1 and the 4 for me. 1. Right, 1 chord. C, a C, go ahead. C chord, C chord. Now play the F chord. Right? Yes? Right, the inversion. Now play G in its root position. G in its root position. We don't want that, right? We don't want a nice inversion to F and go way up here. We want an inversion for G as well, right? Correct. So can you find me an inversion for G? Easy. Right, that's the inversion right there. What are the notes in a, or tell me the notes in a G chord.
The notes in a G chord is...
Tell me in root position.
They are...
Root position G
root
chord.
Position.
Starting from G.
Root position.
Right.
Starting from G. Okay. It's G, B,
right,
and D.
Right. Now give me the inversion you were playing earlier. Right. Right. Tell me these notes now. What are you playing?
I'm playing D. I'm playing G. And I'm playing
yeah?
B.
Right. So it's the same G chord, but now we're playing it D, G, B. So play for me the full C, F, G inverted, which is 1, 4, 5. Play that for me now.
Inverted.
So 1, 4, 5.
1, 4, 5.
C chord.
Okay.
Right. F chord. Right. G chord. How can we get an inversion that makes C the top note? No, we want to make C that top note.
We're going to do this. We're going to switch the D.
We're going to move from, right?
We're going to move from D to E.
Right.
And we're going to keep the G.
Keep the G.
Don't
go any further. Don't go any further. Don't go any further. So within a C chord and a G chord, the common tone, or the note that is common between the notes, a pivot note we call it, is G. G now is in C, and G is in G, right? So we keep that note common right there, and that's how we invert the best position. So go now. So play the full inversion from G to C. G, and then to C. Right. So we hear that top note wanting to go up to. So the full thing would be C, F, G. That's nice. As opposed to C in root position, and then, I mean that works, but we have smoother transition like this. And if we understand our inversions enough, we can do it like this. So it's 1, 4, 5, 1. 1, 4, 5, 1. So inversions. I'm hurrying through. Right? As opposed to, that's a lot of work, that's a lot of focusing. And it's one set on fingers, so you really have to make sure that they're very exact. As opposed to using your inversions, you naturally just want it to, give it some dynamic. You see what I mean? I naturally want to play it softer because it's much nicer to play. Right? So you get smooth transition. It's a simple concept, but it's a good practice for even, professional musicians to get finger movements real quick, right? So we're going to take a break at this moment, and then we're finishing up with the last section.
Aren't you tired of being the last person to view our content whenever we post? Maybe 3 days or perhaps a week later? Trust me, I know the feeling. That's why I'm here to help you fix that problem. By subscribing to our YouTube channel, it enables a notification feature that sends you a personal notification whenever EJC Virtual Church goes live. Yeah, that's cool, I know. Ready? Let's go. Now, firstly, what you want to ensure is that you are signed into your YouTube via your Gmail account. And then when you've gotten onto one of our videos, below that video you should see the word subscribe in red. You tap that word and then a bell should come up beside it. You hit that bell and select all to get all our notifications for all our content that we post right here on our EJC Virtual Church YouTube channel. Yep, it's as easy as pie. So right now you'll receive notifications whenever it's time for a new beginning. Mind Your Health, Youth Mission Live, Oh Give Thanks, Instruments for Change, and on Sabbaths or regular worship service. Remember, if you don't do it, the rocks will. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family members, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will surely receive a blessing from these programs.
Alright, welcome back to Instruments for Change. Today I have with me Kaiden Evering from the Rollington Town Church, who has been helping me with our major scales. What else have you been helping me with, Kaiden? Major scales and
1-4-5s.
progressions,
Progressions. Chords.
chords and their inversions. What else?
Inversions and...
I think that's about it, right? Chords, inversions, intervals, and intervals. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is take a hymn and work through our progression. Our progression, not so much is important right now, but rather use of inversions to see how the inversions fit with the melody and how the melody actually intertwines with the inversions, right? So the song we'll be using is My Maker and My King. Alright, Kaiden. So get ready now. So what we're doing, Kaiden, is... Let's go, Kaiden. What we're doing now is playing our inversions while I play the melody. Let's try that. So we're starting with root position. Play root position for me. Right. Play the F inversion for me. Right. Then G. And then C. No, not that one. Not back to root. But the one with C at the top. Here. Right, that one. Right, so you're going to try now as much as possible to stay within a certain time. Stay within the time. Stay within the time. Let's go. So we're starting with, so here's what it's going to sound like. 4, 5. Right, let's try that now. So we're using inversions right there. Let's go. G, C. Keep that right there. Then use the G inversion here. G inversion, G. Yeah, right? And then this is an E. Let's use second inversion where the E is at the top. E at the top. Right, but here what? We're not going to go right there. We're not going to. So let me, so the viewers can see what's happening. So we're basically playing the melody and the chords at the same time. If you notice what's happening, I'm going to try and play both at the same time. So you notice the C chord is here and the inversion. Just get up for me a moment, Kaiden. Sit in my seat. Sit in my seat, Kaiden. So the inversions. I'm using the inversions. If we could just help the right, thanks. So here's the melody. what I'm doing now, let me play the melody up here so you see the inversions I'm using. You see those inversions moving along with the melody. As opposed to root positions, it sounds completely different. What we had was, you can hear the smoother transition as opposed to, and that's a lot of jumps, as opposed to, and I can go back to the original because it's the same melody again. And I'm choosing the inversions based on where the melody is. I'm choosing inversions. Let's shut this one when the sound is gone. So I'm choosing the inversions based on the melody. I'm having a C here at the melody at the top. So the inversions are set in a position where the melody is at the top as well. Can you just give me a different view of that one so they can see my fingers there? Right. So if the melody is doing, that's a C chord right there, inverted, in first inversion. We talked about that inversion earlier. So what I did was literally, I would take some practice, inverted the C chord in its different inversions. But how we would actually play this is not with the melody in your right hand and then playing chords in your left hand. You would somehow use the fourth and fifth finger to play the melody while using the other part of the fingers to play the chords. If you're doing it like, by yourself. Let's look at it. So I'm doing. So you still hear the melody. Chords a little bit different, and the chords a little bit different, but you will understand the concept. That's so beautiful, using the inversions to play the melody. What goes here? See that part there? All of the inversions. That note, this chord right here is not really a F chord. It's really a D chord based on the scale. All I did was put the D at the top, and now we have it D, F, A, and we know how to create that structure. I was using the wrong fingers just now. Your correct fingers. D, skip 1, F, skip 1, A. That's how we create that D chord. But the melody is up here on the D. So I just place this D, move it from the bottom up to the top, and that's how I use that chord right there. Alright? So in practicing our movements like these, we can practice them in inversions. So we'll go to, that's root position. We can try first inversion, where we have the middle note there, and just practice our first inversion with all those chords. Right? That's first inversion. It's a really good practice. Second inversion, starting from C, second inversion. So here's root position. Here is second inversion. Sorry, first inversion, where the middle note, Kylan, take a seat for me, please. Where the middle note, I'm sorry. then second inversion. Alright, so we're basically at the end of our program for today, but what I'll do, I'll play a song. Okay, then you want to tell me about that keyboard. I'll play a song for you showing the use of intervals and how simple intervals can make a song sound really nice or different. Simple intervals from the major scale, probably alter a few notes, and some simple chords like what I've been using for this class, inversions, to see what we can create with it. So let's try it and see. Yeah, all right, let's see. So I'm playing broken chords and different major scales. It's not time to play Kaiden. Here are some intervals.
Join us tomorrow evening for Oh Give Thanks with Pastor Michael Lewis and the dynamic team. We look forward to seeing you at 7:30 p.m. sharp. A blessing awaits you.